Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where you submit property questions and we give you property answers. We like to do 2 of each week. We find it works pretty well, and this week is no exception. We've got a couple of really good questions coming up, but I'm sure you've got really good questions of your own to send our way. So let's start with a quick reminder of how to do just that.
You can call in on 013 808 00035, or you can leave us a message via our website. Go to propertyhub.net/ask. Super simple. In fact, we're getting loads of great questions in at the moment. Please do keep them coming. And the first one this week comes in from Harsh.
Hello there, Rob and Rob. I just wanted to say thank you very much for all your podcasts every week. Me and my friend have bought our first buy-to-let in Crewe, and I've had a bit of a worry actually, because I know it's a town that you guys have suggested on your podcast in the past, saying it will encounter capital appreciation due to HS2 coming in, and it's a very well-connected town. But my worry is, after listening to your recent podcast about Rob's investment in Nottingham, will my property not encounter capital appreciation because it was only bought for 75,000? So this is my real worry. And I was also wondering, yes, I get rent from this every month, but in the long term, surely if it doesn't appreciate in value, it's not made of any sense to do this investment. Thank you very much, Rob and Rob. I look forward to hearing from you.
Oh, Harsh, what have you done? No, don't worry. It's not that bad. Could have carried that on for longer. That would have been mean, but I won't do that to you. Harsh, Crewe is a great area, so well done. The fundamentals are super strong there, and whether HS2 comes along, doesn't, or is delayed, Crewe, with the fundamentals in place already, is a great town to invest in. And the rental demand there is really strong as well, which hopefully you've encountered and experienced. Now, we often do talk about capital growth on the podcast because that is where the real wealth is made. And if the area of Crewe is to see price rises, will your area be one of the first to go up in price? Maybe, but possibly not. And the reason why it's probably unlikely in the beginning is when capital growth increases in an area, it's the most popular areas that go up first. And it kind of makes sense, right? They're the areas that people want to plough into. But the area that you have invested in suggests to me that the returns and the yields are quite attractive. Now, if that's the case, what you will find is capital growth will eventually come to that area, but not necessarily first. What will happen is investors will be attracted to Crewe because they'll see capital growth increases. More people become aware of it as an area to invest in, and investors will go to areas like yours to go for yields, pretty much replicating what you've done. But as the market heats up, the level of yield they'll be willing to accept will probably be less than what you're getting right now. So hence capital growth occurs. And you will see the prices increase up to the end of the cycle. What tends to happen in a correction or a crash in the market is areas that are not as popular or less desirable tend to be hit harder on the way down and take longer to recover. So you will get your capital growth eventually, and I'm sure you are in it for the long term. So that's the good news. But if you feel we're at the top of the market and things have really heated up and the prospect of a capital growth hit worries you, then you may want to consider an exit towards the end of the market cycle. The good news is, though, you don't have to worry about any of that for a little while because we don't think it's going to happen for a little while. You've got good yields to take in before then, and hopefully some capital growth in the not too distant future as well.
Okay, let's move on to our second question from someone who hasn't left their name, so let's call him Pedro.
Hi Rob and Rob, thanks for all you do with the podcast. Absolutely fantastic content. Just wanted to ask a question about what's actually happened throughout the coronavirus outbreak with people working from home. Obviously, with everyone being forced to work from home and people getting up and running on video conferencing platforms, it's dispelled a lot of the myths that companies had around, why people couldn't work from home. As a result, we're seeing a lot of opportunities go up online for new job roles, which will involve people working from home either 100% or certainly a high percentage of the time. Will that change the fundamentals around property rather than having perhaps connections to nearby cities with a lot of jobs or even in those cities themselves? Will the fundamentals perhaps be slightly more skewed towards recreational activities? Interested to hear your thoughts. As always, keep it up.
Pedro, thank you for the question. I suggest, if you haven't already, you go back and listen to episode 385 on property megatrends, because one of the trends that we talked about was more people working from home. And not to want to spoil that listen for you if you haven't done yet, but what we said was that we don't think this is going to be a massive trend that changes everything. Yes, of course, you are going to get more people working from home than did before, and you're going to get more people working flexibly than have been before. But we don't see it as being a massive shift in the way that people in the UK and indeed worldwide work, in the same way as some people seem to think it will be. The reason for that is that having a remote workforce short term is very different from having a remote workforce long term. And it really does feel like we've been in the honeymoon period of this. And lots of businesses are going to be keen to make it work because it reduces overheads. But will they still be feeling that way in a couple of years' time? I'm not so sure. So, of course, could be hilariously wrong about this. And if you're listening to this in 5 years' time, then go and listen to something more recent. It'll be more helpful for you. But also you might be chuckling because we are now all working from home and offices are a thing in the past and they've all been converted into something else. But assuming we are mostly right, that means that fundamentals aren't going to change all that much. Connectivity to big cities is still going to be important. Good transport links are still going to be important. And they probably would be even if the work from home trend goes further than we think, because there are lots of reasons people want to be well connected. However, I think it is fair to say that at the margins, there will be some changes. You probably will see prices going up more in rural areas than they otherwise would have done, because there are some people who will be free to work from home and they've always wanted to live out in the countryside and now they can. It's also probably going to benefit commuter areas a little bit further out, because 20 minutes to work versus an hour to work makes a big difference if you're doing it every day, but might make less of a difference if you only have to go in 1 or 2 days a week. So people will be willing to move a little bit further out in exchange for cheaper prices and a bit more space. Which is all quite a long-winded way of saying, is coronavirus going to change the fundamentals of property investment for good? No, but I think it is going to make a bit of difference around the edges, and we'll get an idea over the next few years of how big that difference is going to be.
But you know what isn't going to change? Us delivering you a podcast on a Thursday. Yes, we are so consistent. So we will be back then with another podcast, and of course, back next week with Ask Rob and Rob. So until then, everyone, take care, have fun, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.